so writing at home, making a living from being an indie author, it's obviously quite consuming. How do you separate writing from your time off?
I don't.
Okay.
So if we're walking the dog and there's a lull in the conversation, I'll always be thinking about either. So I've always got a list of things to do, right?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily writing, it's all the tertiary stuff. Or I'll be thinking about story itself. My wife's pretty good. I can kind of bounce ideas off her. She comes up with ideas too. But I really switch off. Even when we watch TV, if we watch movies, typically it's movies or series that will kind of inspire me a little bit. So crime series, which there's plenty of at the minute. But switching off from it, I rarely do. It's the first thing I think about in the morning. We get out of bed and I'm making coffee. I think and I already know what I'm going to be writing. So usually the night before, like every night, I will make sure that I've got a couple of sentences on my blank chapter that's going to kind of give me a kickstart in the morning. So I don't just sit down at a blank chapter and think, right, how's this going to go? I know what's got to be in that chapter already. And I'm thinking about that while I'm making coffee. I'm thinking about the emotions. I'm thinking about the scene. I'm thinking about the other people in that particular scene. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not constant. If I'm like a family, I'm not like this bore that only thinks about
writing in the corner.
Yeah, if I could get away with it, I would be. But I have to be sociable a bit. When I am sociable, yeah, I mean, you can kind of switch off. But most people who know me would know that I'm just thinking about something that needs to be done. Something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So you more roll with the consuming spirit of writing rather than like very much separating it from your day-to-day life.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say that's wrong. Oh, I turn off at 5 o'clock and I don't think about it. I think it's the same as any business, and it is a business and it's entrepreneurial. And until you're very successful, that you can in a position where you can just step away from it, you have to just keep investing your time. And let's go back to the guy who's like the builder we was talking about a little while ago, right? He doesn't finish it. He's just started a building firm. He doesn't finish for the day, pay all his men, and then go home and just not think about it. He's got a business to run. He's thinking about, right, okay, what's going to happen? He's planning. He's got things to do. He's got his tax to do. You know what I mean? There's all these other bits and pieces to do. And until you're super successful, I think you constantly have to be building your business. That's my opinion. I could be. There's people out there that won't agree with that, but that's what I do. Always.
Well, like you say, you got to work out what works for you, right? And stick with it. That's what works for you.
And the difference is, it's not a chore. I'm not thinking about something that's not a God, you know.
Gotta write my book. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Why wouldn't I to think about that?
Yeah. And if you are starting a business, it's hopefully because you care about something and you're passionate about it. And so, of course, it's going to naturally like fill your mind anyway. So
yeah,
exactly.
If you enjoy doing it, that's the whole point of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time and energy into it.
Yeah, brilliant. Fair enough. Last year you launched the new series, the Frankie Black Files, which you've talked a bit about, your favorite character to write. Where did the idea for Frankie come from, especially when you'd already written like a Harvey character?
Yeah, Harvey was a really strong character.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with, I wanted to write a new series anyway. Just to kind of, like I said, Harvey, he doesn't say much. And the books are very fast paced. I wanted to write something slower. So I couldn't write a slower Harvey novel because it would piss all the readers off, basically, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted a new series, but then you can't just go from writing action thrillers to romance. I mean, you can, but it's not gonna work, is it? Right? Unless it's really well written romance. I don't know.
You would have to get all new readership and
Yeah, it's almost starting again, right? People
yeah,
do it with pen names, and there's a reason they use pen names for that.
right.
So I like mystery books. I like mysteries. There's mysteries in the Harvey books. They're not mystery novels, but there is kind of that element of who's who, and there's always the twists.
Yeah.
I always like that kind of concept. So I figured, okay, the crime mystery, like psychological crime, it's not too far away from Harvey that I'm going to need a complete new readership. The people that read Harvey, most of the people like the Frankie books too. And I wanted something slower. I wanted to be able to actually express myself in the writing, if you like, without sounding cliche or hippie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be able to put more prose into it. I wanted to describe what Frankie's feeling, all the stuff that I can't do with the Harvey books.
Yeah.
Harvey's action is full on. He hasn't got time to look at the brickwork or how well the gardens. He doesn't care, right? So
that was so funny. Harvey.
there's a little bit more poetry to the writing in the Frankie books. There's a little really nice to write.
Yeah.
And just a little bit more. They take a lot more time. They're longer books, and every sentence is very. There's a lot more time gone into the structure of the sentences, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure it flows. There's a rhythm to everything. And don't get me wrong, I do that for the Harvey books as well. But for the nature of the genre and the type of book that the Harvey books are, you can't put that in. You can't do that with the Harvey books. So
Yeah.
I wanted something else. And when it comes to the character, I needed someone. I needed another vigilante, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't step on Harvey's toes. There's only one Harvey Stone, right?
There is, yeah.
So I had to come up with someone with new problems. This is where the family comes from and the new background. Someone who would actually complement my whole collection of works, rather than go against what I've already done.
Yeah, I think it was very strong making Frankie a father as well, because that's something that wasn't, well, it was vaguely touched on sometimes in Harvey, but that's a very clear different role for Frankie than Harvey has. So that was well done, definitely.
And again, that changes the reasons why people do stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It changes everything. So I think it did work well, and he says a lot more.
Mm-hmm. He does. He's more open with his feelings than Harvey is. Yeah.
Yeah, that was what it was all about. So yeah, I enjoy writing Frankie. I'm 50% through the fourth Frankie book. Not sure when it's going to be finished. I'm working on the Harvey ones at the minute, but it'll come out.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I look forward to reading another Frankie.
Like I said, I'm indie author, right? No deadlines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool, exciting.
Yeah.
In terms of creating a story and plotting for Frankie and Harvey, does it all kind of come at once, or do you have like quite a strategic process to the plotting of your stories?
I think it's different for each book.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to say, no, I sit down and I outline chapter 1 and go through the whole. Yeah, it doesn't always work like that.
Yeah.
I typically have a theme. So for the Harvey books, I would have a theme. So there's a few of the books that are very organized crime based. There's a couple of books that are more like a heist or a robbery or a serial killer, and I try to mix them up. If you know,
Yeah.
I don't want kind of 5 books in a row about robbing museums, or just get samey, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That'll keep it interesting. So I would pick like a theme and something cool. I might have seen something in a film that's kind of triggered something in me. I don't know. I'll just have an idea. I'll draw a story plot, a story arc out.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to write the last action, the big final action scene. I like to kind of have an idea of what that would be, and how I would get to that, and try and work out some twists along the way. It all depends on books.
Yeah.
I've written a couple of books where I've just literally sat down and written chapter 1, which is a great way of doing it. So actually, one of the books at the minute I'm writing, I just wrote chapter 1, had no idea what the book was going to be about, and just put Harvey in a particular position, and I just went from there. And actually, reading chapter 1 gave me some great ideas for where that story is going to go. Obviously, chapter 1 will need a little bit of reworking to fit the story, but I just sat down and wrote chapter 1, which is a great way of doing it.
Yeah.
I know other people, there's Stephen Leather, for example. I know he's in the past, he's bought some pre-made covers and just written a story to suit the cover,
Oh, wow.
which is a great, I mean, if you're as good as he is, then you can do that, right?
Interesting. Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
But you do use, you know, some kind of plot points along the way, strategies like call to action or Harvey rejecting the call to action, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I use like a 3-act structure.
Yeah.
I know some people use a 4-act. I don't understand that. 3. But I know, like, yeah, and just add the plot points in, what can happen, start filling in some gaps. And I'm working on an outline at the minute, so I have a big whiteboard here with 2 stories outlined. There's gaps in them, but the gaps kind of typically get filled in along the way. And rarely do I ever follow an outline so regimentally, you know. Something will happen, I don't know, by the time I get to chapter 8 that changes all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to work to an outline and know what you need to write, which is why I typically do the thing the night before of just kicking off. So I write 1 chapter a day. I will finish every night before I go to bed. I'll make sure there's a couple of sentences on the next morning's chapter of what's going, of my ideas of what's going in there at the minute, and that's what does it.
Good idea for your mind to maybe think it over while you're sleeping as well.
Yeah.
Could be refreshing.
Yeah, it's just good not to stare at a blank page, I think.
Yeah.
Right. I'm opening up a new chapter in the morning and it's blank, and I'm still I've had 2 sips of coffee.
Yeah.
Right. What am I doing? Right. I know, I'll check Facebook, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. If you've got something to kick you off and you've been thinking about it, you've been getting excited about writing there, you can't stop halfway through a chapter once you get excited about it. You have to just carry on.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, nice.